Hey guys,
Hello.
what's up? I am Kelly Cash Forever Keen,
And I am Dawn. Bon chance, Glenn.
and we are wearing some special shirts today.
We are. My t-shirt caused a bit of controversy on Twitter, so let's keep up the trend. Mine's is a
Oh,
Monet shirt. It's of the
yes,
water lilies.
yep, which was very prominently featured in season
Yes,
one.
yes, exactly. That was the painting that Daryl was looking at in the Desimont, and he said it made him think of home. And I
Yes,
then said that Monet is my favorite artist.
and I had said that was the episode where I gave Janae my MVP award for the episode because she said impressionism was a degenerate art. Because I hate impressionism. So I'm actually wearing my favorite artist, one of my two favorite artists, Caravaggio,
That's
the
the Medusa,
Medusa's
isn't it?
head on a
Yeah,
shield.
love Medusa.
And I'm representing Dr. Edwards.
Yes, you are, and I'm Daryl. I think
You're Quinn. You're Quinn.
yeah,
He was the big
I'm
Monet
Quinn.
fan.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather be
Yeah.
Quinn than Daryl.
For those who don't remember, Dr. Edwards, he was the doctor at Grady in season 5, the one who was like a little nicer than the others. I think
Yeah,
he
I
was
think so.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah, and he
He
was a
was
big
helping
Caravaggio
Ben.
fan. He had one in his
Yeah,
office and stuff.
yeah.
So that's who I'm
He's
representing.
a great actor as well, who's going through a really hard time. So shout out love to him.
Yes, yes. Speaking of not to not to bring down not to bring things down too much, but we've been on our channel, we've been raising money, some of you know, for a friend of the channel, Tinu, um, good friend, wonderful human being. Unfortunately, she passed last week, but we are still raising money for her family. So if you send a super thanks, which you can send after any episode airs, so you can send it on any of our videos. If you send a super thanks, all of the money will go directly to Tinu's family. And if I'll also have the link to the GoFundMe. We're gonna put it up. We're gonna scroll it across the bottom, and then I'll also put it in the show notes so you can donate directly there as well. So really, really a bummer. I'll miss her terribly, but we definitely want to help her family out however we can. Um, Unfortunately, a lot of other people want to too. So I'm glad. um, so should we get into it?
Let's. Yay!
My two thoughts on okay, my two thoughts that I'll start the episode with.
Yes.
Um, well, actually, just the one thought.
Okay.
It was really exciting to see myself playing a cameo in the show
Oh,
because
and when was this?
this was the scene. There was a scene on the beach where Ash was kissing some random lady,
Oh yeah,
and
yeah, yes. I
yeah,
remember that now. Now you can mention
yeah,
it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It
That
was
was
me and Ash. We were making out on the beach.
we should say that last night was the Madrid premiere for the Book of Carol, and we are all very much enjoying Manish Dale's outfit and just existence.
Yes, yes,
He
yeah.
won the red carpet.
He's the breakout star of the extended Walking Dead universe
Yes,
for sure. We love him. We love him,
we
and
do.
that's why my name is Cash Forever because I mean, Carol and Ash isn't gonna happen, but I can still ship them in my head.
Yeah, exactly. Shipping is, it's a totally you can ship whoever you want. You're not hurting no one.
I'm also hardcore shipping Kelsh or Ashley. Ashley, there we go.
There you
Ashley.
go. There you go. That works perfectly.
Daryl ever watches this, he's gonna block me on Twitter. Twitter and Instagram and everything. He's gonna be like,
I'm
"He's
sure he's appreciating it.
at my house." Oh my gosh. All right. Well, yeah, let's go
But
ahead
yeah,
and do it.
there is some good stuff in this episode, but
Yes.
some.
Yeah. Yeah, some. Just a
La-
few things.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the first episode, I don't think we really had a complaint about it, did we? It was pretty spot on. There was nothing. I couldn't think of anything negative to say about the first episode, really.
Yeah, no, no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoy well, I okay, and I'm sorry, I'm like going on a tangent here and delaying our recap even further, but the way I felt about the first season was that I really enjoyed it,
Mm.
but I enjoyed it because of everything that wasn't Daryl.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, I enjoyed the other characters, you
Yeah,
know?
yes, yeah,
And so with this, Daryl is still boring me.
yeah. I can understand.
Yeah, I want more Falou and
Hmm.
Sylvie,
Yeah,
and Cadron and Janae, and of
yeah,
course Carol.
yes, of course,
Of course Carol.
of course. Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, those are the ones that I'm interested in.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, even less interested in Daryl after this episode, but
yeah. We'll get to that.
Yes.
So you want to start?
Um, wait, you're starting, aren't you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry,
Yes,
you're
you're
right. I
starting.
forgot. That's my fault. Okay, so when we last, it seems so long ago since episode one.
Yeah,
We're everybody's at the nest. Carol and Ash, other have taken off from Maine, and that's where we find the two groups. So at the nest, Laurent, Isabel, and some others are outside this morning. They're digging up, obviously looking for clams and food. And we hear Laurent's voiceover of his prayer, what he wants. He wants he wants everybody to be happy and safe, everybody he cares about, and he hopes. I thought this was an interesting line. He hopes that someday the nest feels like home, so it doesn't for him, although Isabel had said it did for her. And he knows what everybody expects of him. He says everybody loves me. It says they love me, but I can see how they look at me. And he says, I know it's not my destiny to be an ordinary child, but I wish it was. But wishes aren't hope, and so he says, I hope I can become the person they need to be. Um, Daryl and Falou and Emil arrive back. This is what Daryl was off rescuing them from Janae's convoy, and they arrive back at the nest. Laurent runs up to him and has carved him a dog, which is so cute, a little wooden, and it really looks like dog. So,
yes.
um,
I also want to remark that this is one of the only times in the Walking Dead universe that we've seen Daryl's teeth.
the other time was when Carol was getting off the boat. We saw it then.
Yes.
They saw his teeth then, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He actually showed teeth when he smiled at Laurent.
He did, yes. And but it says to me that the fact that Laurent carved this dog, that tells me that Daryl has been telling him stories of home and the people he's left behind, including dogs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we then hear the end of Laurent's prayer, where he says, I hope I can be the person they want me to be, and I hope Daryl teaches me to throw a knife. You know, God's like, I'm on that, boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Seriously.
Lasang interrupts him. He's overheard it, and he says, you know, do you want Daryl to stay? And Laurent says, yes, I do, but I think he misses Carol, which I was like, yay, he said Carol. So that, again, I think Daryl's been talking about home and who he misses most. And he says, and the others, but he says Carol first.
Yeah.
And this shows us why Lasang is trying to keep Daryl there, even though he's not a fan of Daryl. He he is afraid that if Daryl leaves, Laurent will go with him.
Yeah.
And so he's saying that, um, that you um you have to hold on to your doubt, because doubt is not a bad thing. Doubt is a good thing. It shows you're questioning, and that we want you to question. No, we don't. But anyway, he says that, and
And he's
L-
right. Very, very,
yeah,
very true statement.
yes, exactly. And Laurent's keen to get away because he says Daryl has a surprise for him. So Lasang says lets him go. Um, that's when Jacinta, whose
Jacinta.
name we didn't know last week,
Yes. I don't know how we both
she
forgot that.
yeah, it was so bad. I do apologize. The actress was looking very beautiful on the red carpet last night, and I was like, oh, I feel so bad.
We remembered Zazu, but somehow
Yeah,
forgot Jacinta.
got Jacinta. What shame. But I don't think they'd said her name on screen, so that was possibly the reason. Um,
Yeah.
and she comes to Lasang in a very sort of worrying way for the audience. More red flag time, and
Yes.
she says, the people are stressing. Yay!
I
um,
forgot about my red flags.
yes, wave your red flags, because Lasang's actually kind of the not the aggressor here. She is the aggressor, and he's saying
Yeah.
no, the people are fine, and she's saying no. If you don't give them what they want, they're going to rise up, because they are doubting, and that the answer to doubt isn't faith, it's proof. And Lasang says, "Oh, you want to move up the ceremony again? What ceremony is this?" Okay, this is alarming. And
Oh,
she
yeah.
yeah, we know that this is where everything Kelly said is coming true.
Yep. I I'm going to say this every single time. I predicted that shit before we even saw his face.
You did. You just knew he was going to be bad news, and
Yep.
he really is. It's a cult. Let's be honest. It's a cult.
Yes.
Um, and Jacinta says, if we have the ceremony early, it'll send a strong signal. But Lasang isn't convinced, and he looks out the window and sees Laurent and Daryl meeting up. Daryl's about to teach Laurent baseball using using a chair leg as a baseball bat. I'm pretty sure they could have. If you could carve a dog, you could carve a baseball bat.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. They carved one of the characters on From was gonna carve a baseball bat. Like, what the
it's not a
heck?
very hard thing to carve. I wouldn't have thought. I'm no baseball expert, but
Yeah.
yeah. So then we see the plane, Carol and Ash's plane, spluttering to a land in some mountains. They've got a fuel leak, unfortunately. They get out, delighted. Carol is clearly delighted to be on ground,
Yes.
and Ash is like, "I'm just surprised we're still alive." Um, it's very lush green area they're on, and she says, let's not count our chickens, and sees walkers in the distance. She goes off to kill them with Daryl's crossbow, but what she doesn't realize is there's walkers underfoot, and this was on the trailer. And one grabs her ankle and pulls her down, and she starts screaming for Ash's help. He comes over, kills one of them, but another one grabs him, and we think, oh, they're really struggling. And as often happens in the Walking Dead, a shot rings out, takes out the walkers, and we see there's two people on the hill, and they say, "Welcome to Greenland."
Yes. You know, I hate I always hate to say this, but I cracked up when even though I had seen it in the trailer, I cracked up when the walkers grabbed Carol and she fell. There was just something so funny about the way she fell. It was
Yes.
kind of like it was kind of like the moment in The Ones Who Live when Michonne got thrown off her horse by
Oh
a
yes,
walkerhead.
yes, yeah. It was kind of comedic, and the thing
Yeah.
was, now it was clearly Melissa McBride when they were on the ground, but they obviously had a stunt double doing the falling bit, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh man, they need to get a better wig for that stunt double,
I didn't even
because
notice that. I'll have to go
I was
back
like,
and look at it.
that is so not Melissa's hair. They've obviously it's a very straight looking wig, and obviously Melissa's hair is quite wavy. Um,
Um,
so I was like, oh, they need a better wig. But I always enjoy. I said this last week when Carol was in the greenhouse fighting the orcas. I love when I see Melissa doing anything physical. I don't know why. Maybe some weird thing about me, but I just enjoy seeing her doing action of
yeah,
any
me too.
kind.
Me too.
So it's nice seeing her try to fight. And I the fact that they go to Greenland, I cannot express as much as how much I love that because all as soon as we were told Daryl was going to France, everybody's like, how is he going to get there? And I was certainly one of them. Is he going to ride a dolphin? He's going to ride his motorbike under the ocean. So I really love that even though of course it's still ridiculous, they have made an effort here to make it believable. They've made this slight effort to say, look, you're not going to get across the Atlantic in one go. They're going to have to stop in Greenland to refuel. And
Yeah,
it just adds a nice little sort of detour. In a way, it's a bit like in season one when they found the Walker Orchestra. Just it's not
yeah,
relevant to the overall plot, but it's a nice little detour for the characters to have some experience. And I think this is good. This plot is about the reason they do this, other than going to Greenland. I think is it gives us a bit more of Ash outside of his grieving father and who he is as a person. We get to learn a bit more about Ash. So
yeah.
that's when that's the end of the cold opening, and we're on the titles. We've got cut back to the nest and young lovers. So Sylvie and Emil. Sylvie is cutting his hair. Don't know why. And let's all remember Carol and Daryl. Let's take a break and remember Carol and Daryl's hair cutting scene and think fondly of that and hold it in your brain because yeah. I mean,
Oh
I
man.
don't. Yeah.
Oh, just wait till you start watching From. You're gonna see a
Okay.
real bad
Okay.
hair cutting issue.
Okay. That's intrigued me. But I mean, I don't. I'm assuming it's because the actor cut his hair, so they were like, "Oh, we're going to have a scene for them for cutting his hair." I don't know. It was very odd.
Yeah.
But Emil seems traumatized and he's got tears in his eyes, and Sylvie's saying, what did he do to you? You can talk to me about it, and he won't say. So she goes to unbutton his shirt to see his wounds, and he stops her, and uh, he's clearly upset, and eventually he lets her open his shirt, and he has no wounds. He's completely intact. So he starts to confess, and he says, "I made a deal with God to bring me back to you." And she says, "Well, God heard you. God heard both of us." And they cry together. And now this is yeah, Kelly's got the red flag again. Yeah. Yes, that's maybe it wasn't God that you made the deal with, Emil.
Yeah.
Maybe it was somebody else. But I do like to think of it as also a little parallel to Carol, coming to find Daryl, as we've talked about a lot. Um, it has to be God or the universe or something that's kept Daryl there and gets Carol there. Carol saw a lot of signs in the first episode that if you believed in God or a destiny, it was pushing her in the right direction. And
Yeah.
here is a similar couple who are saying, Emil is saying, I did what I have to do. I did anything I could do to get back to you, which is similar to what we saw with Carol last week, telling Ash the lie about Sophia.
Yep.
Um, which I when I first watched it, I have to be honest, I was kind of watching it quickly, and I thought they'd slept together, and I was like, oh, they slept together. Oh no, they didn't. Okay, never mind. And I went back and watched it. I went, no, I completely misinterpreted that. Um,
Oh man.
so then we see a happy little scene of Daryl and Laurent playing baseball, and Isabel comes along and asks if they're playing cricket, which I really liked. Like,
Yes.
well done.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I loved that.
Yes, we're in Europe now. We play cricket.
Yeah.
And Laurent says we need a catcher, so Isabel acts as the catcher. And after a few failures, Laurent hits one out the park, home run. And Dara's like, it's okay, we've got another ball. But here comes Jacinta to ruin the fun, and she says it's time for Laurent to go in for his lessons. He's not impressed. He's like, oh, she'll make me read Socrates. And Isabel gamely is like, Socrates is fun.
Sure it
Sure.
is. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
putting up a red flag just for that.
Whoever said Socrates is fun. Yeah, the little light reading.
Give him like Kierkegaard or something, not Socrates.
I'm just thinking of the Monty Python's Philosopher's Song now, so I'll just that being. So the Laurent leaves and Daryl and Isabel have a little chat. Now this scene, I watched it like 3 times, and when I was writing my notes, I said to Kelly, I'm going to need a little bit more time because I watched this scene so many times, and I still can't quite get a handle on what's going on. You know, I know what the actual words are being said, but I'm not entirely sure what's being said besides that, if you know what I mean.
It was very Gimple-esque.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, this is very Gimple. Yep. It is. Did they get him on the phone to write this little scene? I don't know. So the Isabel is talking about that Daryl needs to, you know, he's doing all this physical stuff with Laurent, the sports and tracking and things, and Laurent needs other things as well. He needs balance of body and mind. And Daryl, of course, is not convinced, and he says, you know, Laurent isn't buying half the stuff they're telling him out there. And she's saying, no, well, we come up with this question of doubt again. She says, you know, doubt is healthy. And Daryl's like, well, have you ever doubted? And she says, like I said, it's healthy. And I hated this line when he says, he laughs and says, I knew it. You're not like them. You're one of us. Who's us? And she says, you.
I'm so confused by that.
Yeah. Who's us? It makes no sense. Him and whom?
Yeah.
The other versions of Daryl, because I can quite believe that.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. Yes, that would make much sense.
And of course, this prompts Isabel to say, "Well, what do you mean by us?" Which she's right to do, frankly. And she's and she says, you know, in a couple of weeks you'll be gone, and we'll still be here. So she's basically saying there is no us. Which he wasn't referring her and him, so I don't understand that. It makes no sense, logically speaking.
Yeah, this conversation was a little ridiculous.
Yeah, it's very oblique. It's like I can tell they're talking about something other than what they're talking about. But and it was when she said this as well. People make choices for a reason that makes sense to them. There's always doubt. And she says, sometimes you let faith make the difference. You understand that. How else would you have got on the boat to the other side of the world? He didn't do it voluntarily.
Yeah.
He was taken there. Like,
my God. We saw Isabel in her, you know, in her pre-outbreak life as a thief, but I'm starting to think that she may have been also a kidnapper.
Yeah, because it just does not make sense. And this is not an attack on Isabel, the character. It's an attack on the writing, that there is no consistency of what she believes, what she's driven by, beyond protecting Laurent. Everything else is just so messy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like Ash getting mad at Carol last week about the greenhouse. I'm like, how does this make sense? That you're mad at her for this?
Yeah, she didn't wreck the electric generator. That's your doing, dude. Yeah, I mean, I understand people make mistakes and you want to show flawed people, but when you're writing characters like this and they're saying stuff that isn't true and is weird, you expect another character to go, oh, hang on a minute, but Daryl never does, and that's even when he. I'll get to that at the end. Never mind. We'll draw a line under that for the moment. We'll get to that at the end. So Daryl says to Isabel after she says, you understand, faith making a difference, and Daryl says, you can make a different choice. Again, what? Nobody said anything about. I don't. Where does that come from? It's like a apropos of nothing. You could come with me, both of you. Nice addition there, Daryl. Like
Yes.
that little pause.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, definitely.
Make us sweat in that little 1 second pause. But Isabel turns him down because she says it's not possible. But they came all this time. They've been living to come to the nest, and that she believes in it, and um, it was what kept them going. And Dara says, well, maybe that was all it was. That it just something to keep you going. Which again, don't understand what the significance of that is. And maybe
Yeah.
I'm particularly stupid when it comes to Isabel. I don't know, but I just feel like this whole scene is two people talking at odds with each other and saying nothing and everything, and yeah, Gimple writing,
Yes.
100%.
Yes, definitely. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get I'm trying to get Mr. Growly to jump on the thing here because he keeps sniffing my butt and it's really annoying.
he knows something's wrong.
Is everything okay? Do you smell sick? I sense tension.
Oh dear. Oh yes. there's a whole thing going on in British media right now, which if any British media people are listening to this, where some bad stuff went down with a TV presenter and he left a show, a live show, and the female presenter, when they came back, she went, first of all, are you okay, to the audience? So I want to say that to our audience.
Yes.
First of all, are you okay? After watching this episode, are you okay? And if you haven't watched this episode, yeah, just stick with us.
Yeah. Yeah, we watched it for you. We did the dirty work for you.
We did, yes, and I watched it multiple times, so it was hard going.
Yeah.
So yeah, Isabel, it's nighttime. Isabel's in bed at night. Yes, I was scared. Then
Same.
it cut to,
Same.
and
Same.
we see her get out of bed and go and knock on another door, and I was sweating. I won't lie, I was
Yeah.
sweating. But it turns out no, she's going to Laurent's room, clearly to speak about this offer that Daryl's made. But he's gone. Dun, dun, dun. Laurent is missing, and there's a grappling hook at the window. Daryl comes running in his vest and suspenders, which is vital to the scene. And another lady and man come in and say, they were clearly on guard, and they said there was two men. One of them had a pouvoir tattoo on his face, and Isabel freaks out. They're taking Laurent back to Paris. Um, Jacinta warns the tide's going to come in soon, but clearly everybody's getting ready to go. So we see them outside, Daryl, Falou, Emile, and others forming a group to go and retrieve Laurent. Interestingly, you see Jacinta hand bullets to a man and look at him significantly. And also, Emile is not keen on Falou going and tries to stop him going. Another red flag.
Yep.
Yep. And then also Isabel is keen to go, and Lisanne doesn't want her to go. That's the red flag. That happened. Sylvie and
Yes.
Emile have a goodbye hug. They've forgotten that they're boyfriend and girlfriend. They're not kissing anymore. Um, and so they leave. We go back to Greenland, where Carol and Daryl are tromping the hills are alive with their
Carol
new
and
friend.
Ash.
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Daryl.
Dear. So that's a bad sign, isn't it?
Daryl isn't even
Ash.
in this season.
No,
It's
no,
Darren.
it's Darren. That's true. Ash, our new favourite Ash, and Carol are walking through the hills, doing the hills are alive, and it turns out the two women who have met them are Un and Hannah, and they talk about Tupalak, is what they call walkers. It's First Nation. Couldn't think of the word there. A First Nation term that means flesh-eating beasts conjured up to kill the enemy, and if they don't find the enemy, they return to kill their maker. I'm sure there's some significance in that, but I'm not entirely sure what that one
Yeah, I was
is.
trying to figure that out.
Yeah, and it's like, what does that mean? Um, so they say that Carol and Ash are the first people they've seen in years, and Ash explains they've got a crack in the fuel line, but they should be able to patch it up. And they say, "Oh well, we'll help you in our home." And here it is over there, down in the valley, miles and miles away, is a little cabin. And I love the fact that it seemed to take them like 10 minutes to walk there. I'm like, that would
Right?
have taken me half a day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They just
I,
walked across the water.
Yeah, well, I forgot to mention that when the Ash and Carol see them, Ash is like, "Oh, people," and Carol goes, "Yeah, people." I loved
Yes,
that.
that was
The
funny.
difference Carol's experience has taught her.
Yeah.
So Una and Hannah take them into their home, which is actually a research centre. Una is and Hannah are both researchers. They came here to study climate change. There, there is a lovely boiling pot of deer head, uh, but it smells good, so that's all that matters. Um, Ash and Un go leave and Un's going to take him to the storeroom so he can find something to fix the fuel line with, and Carol stays with Hannah. And she offers Carol a drink, which she refuses, and she explains what they were doing here, that they were only meant to be here for 3 months. And they have this talk about climate change. Now, it's also clearly about Carol as well, but I loved that we've had talk about climate change in the show so often. I thought in the flagship show they should have
Yeah,
talked more about other bigger world issues, and they didn't. And that's one thing I think this show does brilliantly, is that
yeah,
it really drops in bits of that kind of stuff. And Carol's saying, the world went to hell, and Hannah's saying, well, did it? Because this is, a good thing for the world. It's healing itself. And Carol's like, yeah, but everybody died. Everybody you love died. And she's saying, well, don't screw with mothers. And I
yes.
thought that was with somebody's mother. I was like, yes,
Or
there's
you'll end up just like this.
yes, yeah, Medusa. But I thought there are several scenes where people are clearly talking about Carol in front of her in a metaphorical way that they don't know they're talking about Carol, but we the audience do. Things they are saying that relate to Carol. This is one of the first ones. Um, that she will do anything as a mother. She will do anything, and that's what the Earth is doing. Um, so Ash comes in and says, "Oh, I found duct tape, the answer to everybody's problems."
Yes.
As you know, if you've watched this track too, um, all you need is prayer and duct tape to get
Yep,
through life.
absolutely.
So yeah, so they go off and leave Carol and Hannah. Carol has put down the crossbow, and she's like, "Oh, maybe I will have a drink." So she and Hannah are sitting on opposite sides of a table, and Hannah wants to ask if she can use the crossbow. And Carol's like, okay. But she seems a bit too interested in it, and she loads it up. And Carol is suspicious, grabs a pen, which we know with Carol, that's a good enough weapon. She'll manage to take somebody out with that. And
Yeah.
we get, I just have to say also, we get to see Carol's rings in this scene because she's taken off her gloves. There was a lot of talk about her rings
Yes.
before the season started, because you can see them under our gloves, and they are support rings for people who suffer arthritis or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, who have a lot of dislocating fingers, and for people who are using weapons a lot, crossbows and bows particularly. So I really, again, this is something they've put into it that I'm like, yes, let's see that they are aging. Let's see
Yeah.
that they're facing problems.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I wish that there was more little bits of about that. And Hannah ends up pointing the crossbow at Carol. Meanwhile, Ash is having a great time on his date with Un. Uh, she, she asks him if he had children. He's talking about Carol and that she's trying to get her daughter, and if there's a shred of hope, he's willing to help. And she's like, "Oh, did you have anybody?" "Yes, I had a son, and he died." And she's like, "Do you ever think of having more?" And he's like, "What? What?" And then Un says, "I had assumed until later on in this scene that this was a lesbian couple. I really assumed they were a couple." And she talks about how her and Hannah have a different view of the world, but Hannah wants civilization to die out, and Un wants to repopulate the world, frankly. And
Well,
she's going to
she
start.
probably just agreed. She probably agreed with Hannah until, until she saw Ash and was like,
Suddenly a change of plan, even from a distance across the valley. They were like, "Hello."
yes, I think I'd like to repopulate the earth now.
I've changed my mind.
Just slap me. Just someone needs to put some duct tape over my mouth already.
we will not we will not stoop to this level of shallowness.
Oh my
Oh
god.
dear. Yes. But she says that they have a plan. Both of them are going to have children, and Ash is going to be the father, whether he likes it or not.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so then we cut back to the research center, and she says that she's meant to kill Carol, but I don't want to do it. And I loved this line. This is my favorite line of the whole episode. Carol says, "Then it's unanimous."
Yeah.
I don't want you to kill me either. But she says she has to do it because Hannah told her, basically. And this has real undercurrents of an abusive relationship. It's clearly what we're getting from it here. Carol is looking at our Hannah as herself and saying, don't you want things? What do you want in life? Think about that, and you can come with us. Don't shoot me, and we'll leave, and you can come and have a life. And but she's saying no, no, and Hannah comes in and says, why haven't you done it yet? And she, "No, I will. Just give me a minute." And she starts speaking to Hannah in a very abusive way, and saying, the way that someone who is in a domestic abuse situation would recognize as the kind of way someone talks to you when they're belittling you and putting you down. And Carol is that voice that she wished she'd had when she was in the situation, and is saying to Hannah, "No, you don't have to do it." And so Hannah shoots Un, I should say, in the head and kills her. And she says, "I have to do it." And Carol's like, "No, no, you did." So they leave and are walking towards the plane. And Hannah's excited, bless her. She's like, "Oh, I can use all my high school friends. This is exciting." And a really sweet bit about Ash. She's like, Carol says, "Oh, Ash is kind." And she's like, "Yeah, he seems lovely." And she says, "He's lucky to have you."
Oh man.
And then 2 seconds later, Ash kills her.
Oh, it was a really cool kill though. It
It
looked
was,
really
yes.
awesome.
He shoots her with a flare gun, and it gets her right in the neck. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's very
Yeah.
cool. So Carol rescues Ash, who's been chained up to the plane, keep him there ready. Uh,
Yeah. There's a lot of
and
ick in this episode, isn't
there,
there?
yeah. Kelly and I have shared notes, and I have written
Yeah.
several times through this episode.
Yes. Yeah. This is true. I
There's
can confirm that.
there's a lot of ick.
Yeah.
And so they get in the plane, and Carol can recognize that Ash is like a bit troubled, and she says, "Is that the first person you killed?" And he says, "Yes, he's been lucky enough that he hasn't had to." "What about you?" Like, Carol's like, "Do you want to see my notebook?" Um, but she says yes, she's killed a lot of people, and she remembers them all, and it never leaves you, which is heartbreaking,
Yeah.
and but also speaks to who Carol is. That she doesn't do any of this lightly. Every bit stays with her and eats away at her soul, but she does it because she can, and she'll do it for the people she loves.
Yeah. She's not Rick Grimes.
No. Yes, and that's the halfway point in the episode.
All right. So back to Darren. Um, they they all get out of the Jeep, and Daryl notices that they had been there, so they start tracking him. Daryl sees some people in the building, and says, "There's one way in. Follow me." They all split up. Daryl goes up the stairs, um, and he gets kind of cornered by some guys, um, and they like one of them ends up going out the window, and oh man, we're coming up on a really upsetting scene
Yes.
that made me yell at my screen. Um, so as he and Isabel are going up the stairs, there's a woman actually from the nest actually firing arrows at them, and she mentions to Daryl that she's from the nest, and then we see Falou with a guy on top of him and a knife, like about to kill him, and he's Emil comes up, and you're like, "Oh, cool, Emil to the rescue!"
Yeah.
Fucking a-hole. A-hole. I liked you, Emil. I liked you. God damn it.
Damn it, Emil, we wanted you to get together with Sylvie. You were a really cute couple. Now you've
Yeah.
gone and ruined everything.
Yes. I mean, granted, I only liked Emil because of Sylvie. I really didn't care that much about Emil.
No.
I just like Sylvie. But really, Falou of all people. Falou. You're gonna let Falou, our baby Falou, die.
Daryl's
Damn
buddy.
you. Oh God.
Yeah.
So so Isabel and Daryl are like still taking people out. And Isabel asks why they're doing this. And Falou eventually gets the jump on the guy. But Emil is about to shoot him, and Emil is very distressed, and he's like, "You weren't supposed to be here." And it's just it's really disturbing. I hate this scene so much.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. And Emil says that they're worried that Laurent will leave, which would make everything meaningless. And Isabel is, trying to be calm, and she says that they understand. Falou asks him in French, like, what they did to him. And Emil says that they made him watch while they did the experiments. And which is so okay. This is what's so interesting to me about covering multiple shows at the same time, because we just had this situation on From, like,
okay,
like just like last episode where that happened. But yeah, so he says that they're martyrs now, but it will all be okay tomorrow.
Uh-oh.
And Daryl asks what's happening tomorrow. And this is what I'm kind of like a little bit confused by. Isabel says they're going to test him. Like, how much does Isabel know? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. I think she realizes, because of all the talk of faith and proof and things, and how much they think he is a savior, they think she realizes. I guess she's smart enough to realize the one way to prove he's a savior is to kill him.
Yeah.
And prove he doesn't die. Which is what we were saying, last season.
Yeah.
What did they do to saviors? They crucify them,
Yes, exactly. The French Jesus.
Yeah.
As Wild Marjoram likes to call him. But, so Emil says he won't succumb. He insists he won't succumb to the bite, and Isabel asks if that looks like salvation to you, and Emil is about to shoot Daryl, but Falou steps in, and Isabel shoots him.
Yeah, and Isabel shoots Emil. I have to say, I said on Twitter that Isabel had absolutely zero impact in the plot. Obviously, she does in this scene, so I was wrong. She shoots Emil, but if she wasn't there, somebody else would have done. Daryl would have done it. So
Yeah.
I still stand by what I say, but technically, I was wrong.
Now, I'm glad that your notes are the way they are for this next scene because I was so
Yes.
confused watching this,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm glad that I wasn't the only one.
No.
So,
Somebody else who watched, who watched it, also asked me the same question, and I was like,
yeah.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, what the hell? We're back at the nest and we see Sylvie and she's walking around and she's watching a woman preparing some food. And she's, like, walking around and looking suspicious and, like, hiding behind one of the pillars. I'm
Why?
so confused.
Yeah, I have no idea why this lady preparing a plate, which looks like to me like a pastry. It's around, it might be pizza, I don't know, and a glass of milk. For some reason, that alerts Sylvie's suspicions. Why? Not a clue.
Yes. They are a lactose intolerant cult.
She's like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. They're giving him pizza. It's the end of the world.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Um, so she kind of follows and, the woman leaves and Sylvie goes down the stairs and sees a room and Laurent is sitting there. And, she's obviously very shocked to see him because, he's supposed to be missing.
Yes.
And and Mr. Red Flag, comes in and says, "We are on the eve of something wonderful." Like, okay, I know that I said that I predicted that Sang was gonna be a bad guy from
Yeah.
since, like, before we even saw him, but it really annoys me, like, how much of a change there's been in his
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah.
It's way too dramatic.
It's
Like,
sudden. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he was very charming and charismatic and, um, somebody that I think almost anybody would find likable,
Yeah. Yes.
and now he's just weird and creepy.
I guess we're supposed to see that those scenes with Jacinta, she's putting the pressure on him, and he was resisting a bit, but
Yeah.
now he's gone full the hooded claw. Uh, he's gone
Yeah.
full baddie because of the pressure, and it's the age old story. When you're a cult leader, all the pressures are on your shoulders.
That's what we should title this episode, the pressures of being a cult leader.
Cult leader, yeah, we should. And I guess that's where it's meant to show that power corrupts, and he's given into their way of faith, that faith must have proof, and that this is the only way. And I can see that would be uh, a way that things go. When you get a group of people, a mob rule kind of thing. But they
Mhm,
could have done it much more effectively and had more
mhm.
scenes of the people, more than just Jacinta, but other people being the unrest that was forming in the group, and in the nest, and that he was at a risk of losing his people. He had to do something. That would have
Yeah.
been more, yeah, dramatically satisfying, I think it
Yes. Yes,
would.
definitely. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Um, so at the plane, they, they're landing in France, and Carol's very happy. She says that Ash says that they're about 100 miles inland, and, tells her that that's France down there. And, he's kind of flying around looking for a place to land, and then Carol spots a racetrack, and, so they end up landing there, and, I I love the French exchange between
Yes,
them.
I loved that. I loved how happy Carol was when she got out
Yes.
the plane. I tried to I was trying to get a screen cap of for myself to be like to describe her expression, but just she moves about so much you can't get it. But there's just this general feeling that she is happy. She's like, "Yay, I did it!"
Yes.
And to see Carol with that kind of like energy is so refreshing and so lovely, and it's just that little moment in the French exchange is just so nice because it's like Carol has hope.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, it's Ash says bienvenue and Carol says merci and he's like, "Is that the extent of your French?" I don't know, I might remember some from high school. I remember I took 2 years of French in high school,
Hmm.
and I remember the most random things. Like, I could say, "Give me a pen."
Oh, yeah, that's I did 2 years of French as well, and I can say j'habite à Dundee sur les Unicos, sur les rivières Tay Unicos, which means I live in Dundee on the River Tay in Scotland. That's
Gotcha.
about it. And also, je voudrais une orangina. For some reason, there was a lot of orangina in my French
Huh,
schoolwork.
interesting. Funny story, one thing that I remember, one thing that I remember from my French textbooks, from my high school French textbooks, the weirdest thing, there were lots of photos because it's a foreign language book.
Mhm.
There's usually a lot of photos in foreign language books because it
Yeah.
helps you understand. Um, for some reason, so I'm glad that they included people in wheelchairs in the French
Oh,
textbook,
yes.
so
Yep.
great inclusion, but for some reason, all of the people in wheelchairs were reporters.
Did not expect the end of that sentence.
It's the weirdest thing. I don't know.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, so weird.
Yeah, well, that was a worthy sidebar.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
and apologies to any French people listening for my horrific French.
Yes. Um, wait, I'm sorry, I have one more
Okay.
funny story. So, I forgot, so my French teacher only spoke French in class,
Oh, yeah.
and, so she asked me a question one day, and I can't remember what it was about, and I was supposed to respond appropriately in French, and I I told her, "The tourists are in the trees."
Yeah. Well, all the reporters are in wheelchairs, so the tourists are up the trees. Makes
Good
perfect
point.
sense.
That's what I should have come back with when she questioned me.
Yes.
If the disabled people are all in if the reporters are all in wheelchairs, why can't the tourists be in trees? This makes
Yeah,
perfect sense.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's what happens in France. Apparently,
France
that's
is
the
a weird country, man.
yes.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Okay, sorry.
That was me.
I'm getting
We
loopy.
needed this. I'm sorry. We needed this laugh.
Um, oh my god. Okay, so Ash tells her that they need to stash the plane somewhere, and Carol tells Ash to stay there. And he's like, "No, no, you need me. You said you hardly speak French." And and
Ash, obviously being the perfect man, can speak fluent French.
yes, yes. And Carol tells him that she doesn't want anything to happen to the plane, and she says she doesn't want him to get hurt. She doesn't want him to get hurt because of her. Um, and Ash says, "No, I'm responsible for myself. Let me help you find your daughter." Um, Carol says, "I've been, doing a lot of things on my own. I'm good at taking care of myself." And Ash says, "Well, they need more fuel and that should take a while." And Carol tells him that if she's not back in 2 weeks, don't keep waiting. And Ash says, I'm not leaving without you.
And we cry.
Yes. And like, wow, that's such a nice contrast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and this is the moment where Kelly becomes a cash shipper.
Yeah.
And,
And I thought when she when Ash brings up Sophia, that she's going to find her daughter. This on my repeated viewing of it, I went, oh right, I get it now. Because I was only thinking that Carol really was worried about Ash. She didn't want another death on her conscience. She didn't want to drag him all this way out here, and he died. But then I was like, oh, she's worried about him finding out her lie because she's going to have to go and ask people about
yeah.
Daryl Dixon. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I didn't click on that the first time I watched it.
Yep.
Both things can be true.
Yes. And she gives Ash Daryl's crossbow, which was a
Yeah,
great moment because I don't think it was supposed to be symbolic of anything,
no,
but it's very funny if you
it is. Yeah,
say
and
what.
I mean, if we travel back to season 10C and Leah's knife, which ended up meaning absolutely nothing, which passed from Leah to Carol, and we were told pay attention to that, it's significant, and then it meant absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So Carol giving Ash's Daryl's bow is significant, but actually means nothing.
Yes. Exactly. Um, so we get some lovely shots of Carol walking through France by herself while some French opera music
It
plays.
did, unfortunately, it did not tell us what the song was. I
I
really tried
know.
to, but I couldn't figure out the words because it's operatic, it's so stylized. And I would love to know what it is because I want to know if it's significant to Carol, if it's relevant because the music choices have been fantastic this season. So I'm thinking it probably is. And I love that we got this because Daryl got that in season one. We saw these same beautiful shots of him crossing France before he finds Isabel in the Abbey and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they gave Carol exactly that same space and place to do the same, to be in this huge landscape. We saw her, I don't know what the places are. I don't know France very well, but obviously significant French places. And this little tiny Carol walking in front of them, and it was just really beautiful. And I'm glad they gave that equal footing to Daryl and Carol.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I liked that. Um, Carol's walking around when a car approaches. She hides, and then the truck gets out, and they hassle a guy on the street. And then they toss him in the truck full of food. Um, and what's funny is when I was watching this back yesterday, I had already seen the episode, but I mean, Carol grabs an apple and is
Yeah.
eating it. And of course, that's so insignificant that it's not something that I remembered after I watched the episode the first time. So I'm doing my notes last night, and I'm uh, I'm watching the episode, and I'm eating an apple. And Carol starts eating an apple at the same time I'm eating an apple. It was really funny.
And you were like, oh, wait a minute. Subliminal messaging.
Which is still not nearly as hilarious and terrifying as the time that I was eating something. I think I was eating a granola bar while scrolling Instagram, and I was going through my feed, and Ross Marquand came up, and he posted this weird clip of him eating something, and he was making the same motion, like bringing it to his mouth. At the same moment, I was bringing the granola bar to and I was a little terrified.
Are you watching me, Ross?
It freaked me the hell out. And I've met him. He's one of the most lovely people, by the way.
Oh, that's so good to
Um,
know.
absolute, like one of the kindest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, that's
Um,
lovely.
but I've ever since that, I've always wanted to meet him again just so I could tell him that story. Um, but, yeah, so Carol takes the apple and she's so smart.
Yeah, she
She,
just yeah.
yeah, she pokes a hole in a bag of grain so she can follow it. It's like, I would have never thought of that.
No, it's just so cool. And I'm like, Daryl's there tracking, oh, there's a footstep in the mud and it's been dried, so it was 3 hours ago. And she's just like, just stab a bag of grain and then we'll see where they're going. Nobody
Yeah,
has to do any hard work. I can just stroll along casually at my own pace.
yep,
Love that for Carol.
yes. Yes, and then she's just, she's like, "Yeah, I can take a break if I want to, no big hurry."
Yeah.
Like,
Work smarter, not harder.
yes. Yes, exactly. Um, so God, this scene was so disturbing. Did it disturb the hell out of you?
It made me think of the Hunger Games. I was thinking of the movies, that's what it made me think of. Um, and it's the kind of thing you see. It it felt very apocalyptic drama. The kind of
Yeah.
thing you see where the reality of life is spelled out in kind of a horrible way, depressing way.
Yeah. It's I mean, this is even more depressing. When I saw this, all I could think of, have you ever read Night by Elie Wiesel?
No, I haven't. No.
I mean, it'll make you sob. It's
Mm.
about, I mean, he was a Holocaust survivor. Well, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
I think he was either a baby or a very small child.
yeah.
Um, and well, no, he would have been a small child because these were his memories.
Oh yeah,
And I just remember the most horrifying thing I remember from that book is when he talked about them putting everybody, just piling them up in the train cars with like no room to move, and they
mm,
would toss food in there,
yeah,
and people would just like literally be killing each other to get
yeah,
to food. And this scene disturbed the hell out of me because I just it just had those vibes to it.
yeah.
Um we yeah, it is all of this is happening at Janae's compound.
It's one of our yeah, it's one of our outposts because
Yeah.
they see them get in the truck. So I don't know what it's called, but someplace that belongs to Ginny.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so there's like a bunch of people standing outside, and they've got bags and boxes, and Carol, I had to laugh so hard because, like, Carol hands over her gun and gets a ticket, and they're searching everybody, and I swear the woman searching her was just trying to look at her boobs.
Yeah, that's totally. That's totally the vibe Carol made as well because her face was like, "Oh, okay." She just basically opens her jacket and has a look. It reminds me of that video of a security guard outside a football match, and he's supposed to be feeling everybody up, for something about their person, and he like just moves his hand six
Yes.
inches away from their body, like, yep, yep, yep. That was the kind of search Carol got.
Yes. Yes. I think, wasn't there something like that? Did you watch Key and Peele?
No, I don't know. We don't get
I
that one.
feel like there was a sketch in Key and Peele like that, where like a bunch of people were walking in with guns, and they're like, "All right, go on, go on, go on," and like some, perfectly harmless
Yeah,
person comes in, and they're like, patting him down everywhere. But yeah, the woman literally just opened her jacket
yeah.
and then closed it. It's
And
so
we know
weird.
Carol, she will have some kind of weapons about her person. She'll have a knife in her boot and a range in her bra.
Yes.
Carol.
Yeah, exactly. So a bunch of food is brought out, and people just, descend on it like Daryl fangirls,
Yeah.
like Norman Reedus fangirls. Um, and Carol's just kind of watching on, and they uh they say that this is what Maison Mare offers: hot food, water, and pleasures, and
Hmm.
a return of order. And anyone willing to volunteer for Genet should get on the truck. So they they're putting people on the trucks, and the guards are kind of like, separating them out. And Carol hops into one, and she like she kind of has a little tussle
Yeah.
with one of the guys. Um, but she ends up getting put on a truck, and one of the one of the women says she's got guts.
Yeah, she's trying to climb in one truck, and the
Yes.
guard sort of pulls at her, and she ends up being put in another truck, and it's giving A and B vibes.
Yes,
You know,
very much so. Very
yeah,
much so. So there's a couple, Remy and Julian, and they try to get into the same truck, but they're separated. And back at the nest, Falou. Well, we're not back at the nest. We're across the water from the nest.
Awooga, awooga. If you don't want to hear this discussion, skip, I don't know, 25 minutes. We might be here for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't want to hear about the God, I'm gonna have nightmares about this scene. Yeah, just skip over this part. So Falou, Daryl, and Isabel can't get across to the nest because the tide is out. And Falou says he'll go make a parameter, and Daryl and Isabel are talking, and she's like, all the years I believed in that place, and it was, thought it was the one thing that would save us. And she says that the one, her one job that she promised Lily she would do was protect Laurent. And Daryl assures her that they'll go get him, and then Isabel says, "Then we'll go with you if the offer still stands," meaning she and Laurent will go to the US with him.
Yeah.
And Daryl just nods, and Isabel says that there's a word in French, dépassant, which means a nice change of scenery that makes you look at things differently. And Daryl repeats the word, and he's like, "Yeah, I like that." And then they look at each other. There's absolutely no buildup whatsoever. And then they have the most awkward, horrifying kiss I've ever seen. I was so uncomfortable watching this. And okay, let's put aside for a second the fact that I ship Carol and Daryl, and that Carol is the only one that he should ever be kissing. Let's put that aside for a second, okay?
Yeah.
If he was kissing Carol, I would be excited about it because it's Carol.
Yeah.
But speaking objectively, watching Daryl kiss anybody is extremely uncomfortable. I'm sorry. I hated it. It was so uncomfortable to watch.
What it made me feel like was two 14-year-olds who are in the school play and are told they have to kiss in the play. And you know how they do that thing where they're standing really quite far apart, so they lean in to kiss and they just sort of mash mouths a bit and then come apart. And that's what it felt like. Now, I have seen Norman Reedus in other roles kissing.
Yes.
That is not Norman Reedus's usual kiss. So the choice is that Norman was very uncomfortable himself, or more likely, let's say that it was an acting choice. And Norman has recently spoken in press about sort of preparing the world for this scene. That Daryl doesn't know what he's doing, and he just is sort of fumbling his way, and he's awkward and all this thing. So if that's what he was trying to come across, it worked. He does come across as someone who is a young person who has never kissed anyone, doesn't know what they're doing. To be graphic, he doesn't open his mouth, she does, which just looks so good and reminds me of something that happened in my childhood. not
Oh
not
no.
childhood. That sounds creepy. Teenagehood, where oh no, where they were like, she's closed her mouth. Kissing in school was never good. It was high
Yeah.
school. Let me reference that. I was Uh, I'm not revealing a traumatized childhood here. Um, but it even though I suspect Norman was doing that deliberately, all it did is just make it an awful, awful kiss. I was watching. Somebody had tweeted. A journalist had tweeted that they're looking for the best TV kisses, and I was like, "Oh, what would mine be?" And I couldn't think. But I was looking at the recent one with Colin and Penelope in Bridgerton, where Penelope has never been kissed, and she asks him to kiss her just so she's been kissed by someone before she dies, kind of thing. And they kiss, and it is perfect. It is sweet. It is rising sensuality. It is two people who get lost into it, and there's sexiness, and it's everything. Then there's this kiss.
Yeah.
It's like the other episode, end of the scale. Um, and there's no emotional build up to it either. When we consider how in episode one Daryl was like, "No, I'm still going home. Bye. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the people who are thinking of me." And now he's like, let's give it a shot.
What the heck, man?
Yes,
Oh God. You've
and I
how
just
much
want to say
Yellow
she's
Jackets?
only going with him because
Yeah.
Laurent is in danger now. When he wasn't, she was like, "No, no, this is my life," and now she's having a doubt about what her life is, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'll come with you."
Yeah.
She's his second choice. Which
So
put that
weird.
in there. Yeah,
Um, how much of Yellow Jackets have you watched?
I have watched all season one. I haven't seen season two yet because it's on Paramount, which I don't have.
Ah, bummer.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
afraid.
there is like off the top of my head, the best kiss that I can think of
Mm.
is there's one between uh Ty and Van,
Yeah.
adult as adults.
Oh, adults. Okay, yeah.
Um, and it is like the best TV kiss I've ever seen in my life.
Cool. Okay, I'm looking forward to that then.
And I feel like I need to watch that that kiss and this kiss next
Yes.
to each other.
I just don't know what we're meant to be thinking about Daryl's mind at this point. I've no idea what his mindset is. And what Norman Reedus has said is something about the fact that all this awful stuff keeps happening to Daryl, and he's like, oh, maybe there's this chance of happiness around the corner, and he's just he is really giving vibes of he's just trying it out. And okay, that's it, but it's not coming across on screen. It is completely baffling how the Daryl who days ago, one assumes, a couple of days ago, wanted to go home and was only thinking about the people he'd left behind, is now like kissing. And this is what I said I would draw a line under and bring up later. A woman who compared him to his abusive father
Yeah.
not that long ago. A couple of weeks ago, she's saying to him, "You need to be responsible for this child. He's basically now your son, by the way. And if you leave him, you're just like your abusive father who left." That is a horrific thing to say to an abuse victim. And for at the time, I thought, "Oh, this is an interesting line. If we're meant to think, oh, she's so blinded by her religion, she'll start saying stuff like this that's heartless and cruel, and that then we would see how she would become torn between the religion and what she wants." And even her character description said that she would be confused and torn about her feelings. None of that is on screen. It's
Yeah.
just she's abusive to him, and Daryl's now like, "Oh, well, you're still here. Let's kiss." Like,
Yeah.
mm,
I'm I'm going to I'm glad that Daryl Dixon is not a real person because if he were watching this, he would
yeah.
find me so hot right now.
All the red flags. Yeah,
This is what Daryl Dixon looks for in a woman.
yes. After Leah, and yeah, it's
Yes.
it, yeah, it's just so I keep using the word oblique. It is so oblique. There's an opaque. There's just nothing that tells us exactly what Daryl is thinking. Carol's plot here and her motivation and her mindset is crystal clear all through. She's here to get Daryl. She desperately needs him emotionally. She thinks he's in trouble, but she's also dealing with the loss of Sophia is simmering underneath that, and she feels that the weight of that guilt that she didn't save Sophia and of all the people she killed. That's all on screen. What Daryl is feeling is I don't know. I really just don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And meanwhile, Carol's like taking a trip to France with this
Yeah.
super hot dude.
Yes. Who says I won't leave without you?
Yes, exactly. God. So
Oh
anyway,
yes.
after that, oh God, that uncomfortable weirdness. Um, we uh we catch up with Lasang and Jacinta,
Yes.
and he says, Descartes says doubt is the origin of wisdom, and Lasang says that we'll go through with the plan, it'll work, but we'll still have to deal with Daryl when he comes back. And Jacinta tells him that Daryl isn't coming back and that she amended the order. Um, she told him that Daryl was an obstacle and it should be done now. And Losang is actually very angry about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, he and he kind of gets in her face and is yelling at her, and he's like, what about the others, Isabel and Falou? They're not part of the plan. And asks her, "Is this who we are, who we want to be?" So he's clearly conflicted a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so if his mind wasn't so warped
Yeah.
by this cult mentality, he would probably be a good guy.
Yeah.
But he's not, because
He's not.
he's a
Yeah.
twisted cult leader.
Yeah.
um, but Jacinta says, what we all want to be is certain. Without that, everything falls apart. Um,
I wonder if that I bolded that line in our notes because I was thinking I wonder if that's we can apply that to Daryl as well, that he has doubts, we know he has doubts, um and so with his doubts about where he belongs, which I thought we'd sorted out in season 10, but anyway, that everything falls apart. So because he's doubting, everything has fallen apart and he doesn't know what he's doing. um but that may just be me projecting.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, Carol is in the truck with Remy and introduces himself in he actually introduces himself in English, right?
Yes, he does. Yeah.
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 Um,
Because
and
he says, so he says sorry to her. He bumps her, and he said, and she says it's okay, and so he understands she's American.
yes, yeah, he explains that he was an English teacher, and Carol asks him where they're going, and he tells her about Madame Genet. And he said he was skeptical, but it's hard to argue with bread and wine. Um, and he said his husband has lung problems, and he heard that there might be a doctor. But Julian, his husband, is in another truck. And he's a little concerned about that. Um, and of course, as they enter the compound, the truck doesn't follow, it goes in a separate direction. And, he's a little panicky about that for good reason. Um, a female pouvoir goes down the corridor to the room where Cadrono's being tortured. You hear him screaming first.
Mm.
It's so funny because when I watched this, when I heard the screaming, it didn't click right away that it was
Yeah,
Cadrone.
I just thought it was generalized screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
just, who knows? There's probably like 800 people screaming in there.
Yeah.
Um, but she tells Janae that they've got 19 volunteers. Um, and she says Cadron knows nothing. And she she goes into the room and the woman leaves and Janae tells Cadrone that, she's her right hand and it could have been him,
Mm.
which we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's what it looked like,
yeah.
at first. Um, and she says someone once told her to never give in. And she tells him a story about how her mother was a waitress and taught her how to tease out a cork. And you have to be patient and you have to not be too forceful with it, but also not be too gentle. And you just have to use patience. And then they drive a cork into Cadron's hand. He is a mess.
Yeah, yeah,
The guy is he's cut up everywhere.
yeah.
I mean, they really did a number on him.
And he's not saying a word. So
Yes.
bless Cadron.
Yes.
What a guy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're driving a cork into his hand,
Yeah.
and it's that like, I feel like that's probably not the most painful thing they've done to him yet.
No, but he's
I
street.
mean, he's an absolute mess. I mean,
Yeah,
like, I'm looking at this guy thinking, how is this guy even alive right now?
yeah,
Because
yes.
they did a number on him. Janae asks him where is the nun, the boy, and the American, and while they're torturing him, and he just screams, and then the camera goes over and shows what is his name? I always forget his name.
Oh, Aslan.
Aslan, yes. We see Aslan's pocket watch that he gave to Daryl with the nest on it. Um, and it's interesting that like I mean, I'm guessing she hasn't seen that.
Yeah, or just hasn't clicked. I don't know. I'm not very bright at the honest. They're not very good
Yeah.
detectives, aren't they? Give us the answer. Over there.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that she would have sent people if she saw something like
Yeah,
that, you would
yeah,
think that she would have sent people to go check it out,
yeah. You
to
would have
see if they're
thought so,
there,
wouldn't you? Yeah,
like because that could be a clue. Yeah, very, very strange.
yeah. Oh, sorry, that was me. I just dropped my tablet. Clunk.
No. But of course, Cadrone had it though.
Yes, yeah,
Um, Cadrone had the watch, so I don't know how much that means necessarily.
yeah. Maybe she just assumes it's his. Feels, something. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
I do think that Cadron's change of heart at the end of season one was a bit abrupt because we don't get into his mind. It's meant to be a shock at that moment, like, oh, he's not killed them and he's letting them go. Um, but I think it would have been nice if we'd had more time with him to understand why he changes his mind and why he's. I mean, as you say, he's absolutely destroyed, and yet he's not giving them up. And so, why, when he wanted to kill Daryl, and obviously it's to do with Laurent. He wants Laurent to live, but what is it that's changed him? I would have liked to have had more, because Romain is such a good actor and just
yeah,
amazing screen presence. I would have liked more of his that turn about. Even if we saw a flashback or something that would help us understand why what Laurent said made him change and become so adamant that he was going to protect Laurent. Um,
yeah. I feel like there should be a backstory there that
yeah,
makes him as sympathetic.
yes,
I mean, he clearly got involved with Janae for the wrong
yeah,
reason. Not
yeah.
just because he mistakenly believed that somebody killed his brother who didn't,
No.
but also just because I mean that was his only purpose for getting
Yeah,
involved with her.
yeah.
Like he wasn't concerned about hurting other people or like
No.
he just wanted to find Daryl and kill
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
Um but it's but yeah, it is a little confusing and it would be nice to it would have been nice to like get a little bit more of a backstory here,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Um uh,
Cuz
yeah. I would like to have seen, you know, maybe in episode 1 or something, because we saw that moment in episode 6, and dramatically they couldn't have done it then, but they could have done it here to show, or this episode to show why he's holding out so hard.
Yeah.
That would have been a good, instead of the Greenland pair, which I did really enjoy, but you know, I think I would have sacrificed them for more of his backstory, Quadron's backstory.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But it's nice to have him back on the screen now.
Yeah,
That's yeah.
and
Um
and is it Charrier? Is how
and
you pronounce her
Charrier,
name?
yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
just incredible on screen. She just is so. She just owns it. So believable as someone who people would follow. Um,
Yes.
and
For
and
sure.
a contrast to Lasang. Lasang has that genial fake. Hey, I'm lovely, but she's just strong. And
Yes.
yeah,
Very
really,
much so. She just has the most sinister looking smile I've ever seen.
she does. Although when we saw her on the red carpet last night, she also has a beautiful smile in
Yes.
real
Yes.
life. So it shows what a good actress she is, that she can just make that smile so sinister.
Yes. I could not believe in the red carpet photos, I could not believe how tall she looked.
I know. I mean, she was wearing heels, but I think everybody was. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
she looks so tiny on the show,
yeah, yes,
It's very yeah, I was really surprised.
protective. Yeah,
It was kinda like when I met Denai Guerrera,
yeah,
um, like, she just has such a presence on screen and, like, I never thought of her as, like, somebody tall or anything like that, but
yes.
she has such a presence, and then I go to meet her, and I get in front of her for the first time, and she's so tiny. It's like this tiny little thing. I mean, like, throw her across the room. I mean, she's buff. She's buff as hell,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
but
But no, I
she's
know what you
so
mean.
tiny.
Yeah, it just shows you how much her screen presence gives her. That she
Yeah.
just feels she takes up a lot of space. I just to go back to the kiss. I just remembered something else I wanted to say, which was when we had Find Me with the Leah story, and on the Talking Dead afterwards, the actress said that she thought, oh, had it not been for COVID, we would have kissed. And the writer was like, no, 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 no. You were never going to kiss, whatever. And we were like, oh, that's awesome. They're saving Daryl's first on screen kiss for somebody important.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about, let's say it's Carol, but Norman has spoken for years and years and years that once Daryl falls in love, that's it. It's all over. He's one person, mate for life, penguins, flamingos. He uses many, many metaphors. And so I had assumed, and a lot of people did, that Daryl's first kiss would be with that person. And I don't believe it is.
No.
And I just don't know why they've thrown away that card on something a story which seems insignificant in the long term. I'm trying not to spoil anything that comes forward, but um, you know, it doesn't feel like this is Daryl's one true love, put it that way. And so I don't understand why they gave away that thing that they were holding as a special moment, as Daryl's first on screen kiss. And it's and it's a
Yeah.
rubbish kiss.
Yeah, like, I really I don't understand it.
No.
Um, I, the only eh yeah, I don't know how to say too much
No, I know. Yeah,
without
it's very
spoiling
hard.
stuff. It's so
Yeah,
hard. But God, I mean, we'll be able to say more
yeah,
soon, but
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
yeah, it's really hard right now, but we'll be able to I'll be able to say what's on my mind
yeah,
in a couple of weeks, fortunately,
yeah,
but,
yeah.
um,
Yes, it's just we will talk more about the significance of this moment and the grander scheme of things once we're further
yes.
down the story.
Yeah, 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 so in the meantime, I'm sorry for everybody who had to sit
Yeah,
through that. There were so many, like, people who saw it because a lot of the season got leaked, unfortunately.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the whole season got leaked by AMC.
Yes.
My
In
god.
France,
In France,
to be
yeah.
clear, yeah, yeah. They
Um,
accidentally put the whole season up at
oh
once.
my god. And, there were so many, just so many awful comments about,
Yeah.
I mean, not just from Carol and Daryl shippers,
No,
but, like
no.
like, e everybody just on how bad that kiss was.
Yes, yes.
God, it
You
was
know,
awful.
even Daryl alone fans, Daryl the lone wolf and things who don't ever want him to settle down, and fans of who wanted Daryl to be asexual and or demisexual, um, are like, well, what is this about? Why? And this is my biggest question: is why have the writers chosen to do this, knowing that would be the reception? They know
Yes.
that people are not going to react well to this. There will be some people who ship Daryl and Isabel, and that's great. They might enjoy this scene, but by the end of the season, uh, I just don't understand the mentality that they thought this particular scene was so vital in the plot of this season.
Yeah.
And again, we'll be able to talk about that more freely as it goes along. But
I'm glad you brought up, um, the, uh, the demisexual thing, like, because as somebody who's I'm more demi-romantic than
yeah,
demisexual, but, um, as somebody who is that, that's one of the things that made me so uncomfortable about it because
yes, yeah,
that's how Daryl seems to me, you
yes,
know? And, like, I mean, I've like I said, I'm more demi-romantic than yeah, I'm more demi-romantic than demisexual. Like, I've had not trying to make myself sound any way here, but I've had plenty of one night stands.
Let's just get it all out. It's
I
therapy. Come on, we'll all talk. Let's
I
share.
mean, I was a theater girl. I mean,
Yeah,
theater people are, a
yes,
little very affectionate
free,
with each other.
free and easy.
But that kiss,
Yes,
that is not something I've had many times in my life, like, a kiss like that where it's not you're, like, just kissing somebody romantically and not trying to hook up with them and you're not together with them, you know?
yeah,
Like, as someone who's demi-romantic, I haven't had many moments like that in my life, and so it was, because I see Daryl as being the same way, it was just very weird for me. It was
yeah.
just very
And
strange.
as I say, it's the way that Norman has presented Daryl, and it's like the contrast between Daryl and Carol. Carol seems able to have sex very freely with no emotions attached, and that
Yeah,
that comes from all her years of being married to Ed. That she's managed to separate those two in her mind. That it's just her body and not her heart and soul kind of thing. And where Daryl is the exact opposite. He even in a very recent interview, Norman says it takes Daryl years to fall in love with someone, to love them, full stop, not just fall in love, but to love somebody. And so only then can he be sexually intimate with them. That sex is a really hard thing for Daryl to do, to be vulnerable with sex. Um, and that seems so fitting and so right with Daryl's history that we know with his abuse and his past that he he was very guarded of his body, and so this just seems so opposite to the Daryl we know, that
yeah.
after 2 months, 2 to 3 months, he's just like, well, let's give it a go and kiss. It raises the question: why did this never happen before, other than Leah you know, in the 9 years previous to that, or whatever it was? Why did he not show a single iota of sexual interest in any other woman? Because he
Because
didn't.
there was a constant battle in the writers' room about Daryl and Carol. That's exactly why.
Yes, yeah,
That's exactly why.
yes,
It's
yes,
it's so ridiculous. I mean, and we know this from things that the writers have said
yes, yeah.
that
Um, Glenn Mazzara has spoken about it, and uh, Latoya Morgan has spoken about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's kind of like if they it's kind of like they were saving Daryl for Carol.
Yes, yeah. That was what it felt like, yeah.
And I feel like it's way too late to deviate from that.
Yeah. Yes.
You
Yes.
know?
To throw it out and just go, no, it's just Daryl can just kiss anybody he sees who's attracted to him and is showing an interest. Why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's very strange.
Yeah. Why
Um,
did he not? And I hate to sound like a Connie chipper, Donnie and Connie, Daryl and Connie chipper, but why didn't he show that interest in Connie?
that
You
would have
know,
made more sense.
it would have made absolute sense. Connie clearly liked him. Whether she liked him romantically is not entirely clear, but it's up to your interpretation. Daryl liked Connie. They were very good friends. Why on earth didn't he kiss her or let her kiss him or they kissed together?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That absolutely, like, that would have made way more sense in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is me as an absolute die in the wool Carol shipper saying, I would have preferred Donnie to happen,
Yes.
Daryl and Connie to happen than
Yes.
this.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Because at least it would have been coming from somewhere. At
It would have
least you
come
wouldn't
from,
have been
yeah,
like, "What?
it would have
This."
made sense. It would have fitted with his character that he's known her for a couple of years. They settle at Commonwealth. Everything's fine and settled at Commonwealth. There's no reason to fight. He's not fighting his young adult life. And there's this woman there. So he's like, hey, let's make, and I want things, as Norman said, Daryl's fed up of everything being miserable. So he thinks, let's try something happy. Why not?
So
I'm raging
bizarre.
about why Daryl didn't kiss Connie. What has the world come to?
Hosting we're hosting a podcast together where we're talking about shipping Donnie.
It's what we've been driven to. Oh
Oh
dear.
my god. I love it.
I,
I love this so much.
I do apologize. We've been largely hysterical in this episode, but I really wanted it. So, I only half apologize.
Oh my god. Ugh. Like, even Daryl and Aaron would have made more
Yes,
sense.
absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely.
of course, I'm still
Anything.
pissed at them for, like, not continuing on with that relationship. I
Yeah,
mean,
that was just, and this is an example of The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead writing, and it's exactly the same in this spin-off. It's brilliant in parts and horrifically bad in parts.
yeah.
There, everything we're seeing with Carol, we absolutely love. It's so well written, and everything we're seeing with Daryl is like, what's going on? What are we meant to think he's feeling? And it does make you think that there is a behind the scenes wrangling, and so there is a confusion of what the messaging is coming across, and from Norman and as Daryl, and from the writers. There's just it just I don't.
Yeah.
There's more scenes. We'll talk about that as they happen. But
Yeah. 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 I'm very pissed that, they could have given him, like, if even taking Carol out of the equation, they could have given
yes,
him a woman who looked after his dog, or a guy who gave him a motorcycle
yeah,
and made him cry.
yes, yes,
I mean,
exactly.
cry, like, from, like, because he cared about him so much.
Yeah,
And they gave him somebody who
who
told
compared
him he
him
was
to
like his
his
abusive dad.
abusive dad.
Oh god.
Connie would never.
Yes. So, I have a suggestion. It popped into my head today,
Okay.
for the MVP and LVP
Oh yes.
award
Okay.
winners.
Yes.
The, MVP,
Yeah.
the Daryl's Best Award, and the LVP, the Suspenders Award.
Very good. Yes, I like it.
So who gets your Angel Wings Vest award.
My angel wings go to. Oh, this is a hard one this week, but I think it might have to just be Ash again for being so understanding of Carol, and he's like, bless him, he so desperately wants her to find her daughter, and you're like, oh, Ash, you're so sweet. There's not a lot of MVPs. Falou for being awesome and kicking Emil, uh, when he's away to shoot Daryl. So maybe let's. I said Ash last week, so let's say Falou for just being awesome and not
Yeah.
being strangled.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Who's getting your
And my
suspenders award?
suspenders go to Emil. You dirty,
Yes.
dirty rat. You sold everybody out so you could get back to Sylvie, and then you left her again. You're a typical man.
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you across the board. Like, man, what a disappointment.
Yes.
Not even like I said, not even like I cared much about him, but like, god damn, she was gonna let Falou die, the best character on the
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
other than Carol.
Yeah. And Ash.
And Ash, yeah. My
But yeah.
god. Oh,
Yeah.
what an idiot.
It's not that we're angry, Emil. We're just really disappointed.
Yes, very much so. Sylvie deserves better. All the
Yes.
women on this show deserve better.
Sylvie and her. I don't understand why they're pouring a glass of milk. That's suspicious.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Sylvie.
The lactose intolerant cult.
Yeah. We have so many subtitles for this episode.
Oh my god. Oh my god, yes. All right. Do you have anything to add
No,
before we
I
get
think
out of
we've
here?
talked people's ears off enough.
Yes, we have. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week. And remind me, when do the episodes go up on AMC Plus?
Sunday, sort of midnight Sunday, I think. Well, you know what I
Okay.
mean? Saturday to Sunday. Yeah.
So our recaps will be available shortly after that.
Yeah.
Is when I'm going. I think so, because I believe. Well, you know what? I need to check the embargo, but I think it's okay to post as long as you say that there's spoilers, and
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that's the case, but I will double check. So
Yeah.
I will put them up as soon as AMC lets me put them up. I'll
Yes.
just say that much.
And we hope we've helped you through this traumatic time.
Yes, yes. I know with MGM, because From airs earlier, and they have an early release, and then I know with that they have to they're basically letting everybody post their recaps right after that, the early
All right.
showing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just saying that, it's spoiler filled for that episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I will double check on that, but we will put it up as soon as we can. All right, everybody. We will see you soon.
Take
Take care.
care.